Ay. So, as you can see, I did a ginormous book haul. I wanted to come on here and show you what I got. Almost all of these came from Thriftbooks, which is an awesome site. If you've never used it before, highly suggest. They have a rewards program that's really good. I actually got two of these books for free because I spent enough money on the rest of them. I was going to kind of walk through everything real quick with you guys because I wanted to see what I got. Kind of give you my first thoughts on everything because there's some stuff that I'm really excited about and some stuff that I'm like, I maybe wish I wouldn't have bought it, but it was so inexpensive and it's supporting the book industry, which is awesome, and they're reused, so I'm not contributing to waste, so that's good. I'm going to go through some of the smaller books first, and then at the end I'll go through the ones that I have like from multiple books for the same artist. First up is this Alfred Stieglitz book. Alfred is a photographer. It's a good book. It's all black and white, but I'm pretty sure all of his work is black and white, so obviously that doesn't run into an issue. There's great photographic work throughout. This is the O'Keeffe's. Yeah, fan. It was a cheap book, $4.79. Oh, and it was a previously a library book, which in my experience they've actually come in better shape than consumer books. So that's great. Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon is a painter. Great imagery in here. Awesome prints. I mean, can't say enough. I think it's seems like a really good book. And it kind of goes in depth of like what was going on at the time in the art world and everything. And so yeah, 10 out of 10 would recommend. So the MSRP on this Francis Bacon book was $18.95. So this was a almost $20 book originally that I got for $4.29. So that's pretty good, especially for the amount of imagery that's in this one. It's a good one. Bernice Abbott, and this is another photographer. It's part of a Masters of Photography book, so it's part of an anthology series, which is not my fave to own, but this one has some really great imagery in it of New York. Oh, here's a Trinidadian dancer. There's some cool stuff in this one, and I like the imagery in it, and it's a solid image book, which isn't my fave, but will come in handy for imagery, and it's always good to add more female artists to my collection. This one was a little more expensive. This one was $5.99, and it's slightly damaged. You can see by water. I'm going to try to stack this at the very bottom of my bookshelf to see if it'll squish it down. But not my fave for the price, but like I said, it's kind of hard to find book of anthology books for female artists, so glad to have it. This one I know nothing about. I was kind of running out of artists that I don't have books by, or that I was looking for books by, so I was just kind of looking through the art and artist section, and I stumbled across this book, and I'm so excited I did. It has some really cool imagery in it, a lot of urban and like streetscape culture, and also like there's a lot of stuff it feels like on like masculinity and that sort of thing, so really cool. It's called Big Up by Ben Watts, so excited to have that in my collection because it's something totally new to me, which I can appreciate Thriftbooks for suggesting this to me. This one was a steal. This was originally a $35 book and I got it for $5. Amazing. And this is like a great coffee table book. Like if you're looking for a cool coffee table book and this is your aesthetic and style, I would go and pick this up because it's a really good one. Marina Abramovich. How do we say it? I always say it wrong. One of my favorite performance artists of all time. I think of a lot of people. And yeah, she doesn't have a ton of books because she's a performance artist, so obviously it's kind of not as simple to translate her work into the written form. But this one's great, and it talks a lot with her collaborator. This is part of the New York Public Library system, which is cool. It's originally a $35 book that I got for $7.89, which is expensive, but like I said, her books are kind of hard to find, so I was really lucky to find this one for the price that I did. And it has a really good selection of imagery, and even the words and text are done in more of a performative way, so it's easier to connect with her work. So next is a paperback. It's kind of... Look, I was a little disappointed by this one. It's Ai Weiwei, According to What? It's a great book when it comes to the imagery and that sort of thing, but it has this pseudo magazine cover. Like, it's just a little bit thicker than what a magazine cover is, which I don't really love because it kind of just promotes like the temporariness of it, which I don't like. I don't know what the original pricing on this was. Ai Weiwei books are expensive because he's a current artist. Contemporary artists, their books are more expensive because they're newer. And this one was actually one of my freebies, so I can appreciate that at least I didn't technically pay any money for it. I had to pay shipping on it, but that was less than 99 cents. So A+ for pictures, D- for the cover. Oh, and the biggest thing too about this is that it's just a single, I can't remember what kind of book binding this is considered, but doesn't have anything on the spine. So it's like in my on my bookshelf, I'm not going to be able to know what this is when I'm looking at it. So that makes me a little frustrated. Ooh, I wanted this book so bad, and I'm so glad I got it. It is Christo and Jean-Claude, which they are installation artists, and they do like a lot of public installation. This cover is a cathedral, I believe, that they wrapped in a fabric. Something that they're really famous for is this umbrella project and these surrounded islands. They have some ones that are in yellow that are really cool, but basically they just play with ideas of your space, and I was really excited to get it. There's no MSRP on this one either. I can tell you this is probably an expensive book. I paid... Oh, this is one of my free books, because it was under $5. So this one I'm very excited for. It makes up for the Ai Weiwei free book. Next up is Miss Cindy Sherman. I have some Cindy Sherman books. There was one that I was looking at to get. It's still like slightly too expensive for my liking. This one is on a specific collection, I believe. Good imagery. Not my favorite Cindy Sherman work necessarily, and also it's all in black and white. 2005. So this is specifically a curated exhibition. This was $8.29. Cindy Girl. Someone got you for 99 cents. You ripping me off. I guess this is kind of a regret. I have it now. I'm not going to get rid of it, so... Not my fave. Man Ray. I have no Man Ray books, so I'm excited to have this one. It's originally a $10 book. It was $9.95. Published in 1988. So not a ton of color photographs, but all of his photography is black and white. Great imagery. Awesome full-size, full-page prints. Yeah, excited to have it. There's a lot of... Man Ray is known for his craziness. And it's part of the Dada period of art. And this was $6.79, so actually not a huge discount from its original price. Elaine and Bill is about Elaine de Kooning and William de Kooning. And this I'm excited to read. I have some artists' books about biographies and autobiographies, and they're interesting. They're not my fave thing to read, but this one is one that definitely sparks my interest because it's about two creatives who work together, which is really, and we're married. This was originally a $25 book that I got for $5.19, which I can really appreciate. Up next, we have Gilbert and George, who are an art duo. Their work is really interesting. It's very visual. It's very graphic, which I can get on board with. Great imagery in here, full color. It's an awesome book. I'm very excited to own this piece. I don't own anything from them. This is when they were young, which is super cute to see. This is originally a $30 book on the dot, published by the Tate Museum in 2007. I got this one for $5, which is a great price for what it is, and I'm very excited to own this. I think this is a great coffee table book, again, if you don't have one that you want. If you need a poop book, whatever it may be, this is a good one. Pile is finally getting small. Judy Chicago. Judy Chicago is an awesome pioneer in the feminist art scene. She originated the feminist art program at Fresno State, my alma mater, which I think is really awesome that I own a piece of her work in her collections. She's really famous for her table settings. Oh, that's cool. So I'm just looking inside this book, and it had this awesome... And someone got this, I guess, from a showing. And the cool thing is that I was just going to talk about this. Judy Chicago's The Dinner Party, which is her most famous works. It's different plates from different female experiences all around the table. And, oh, wow. This is from the Brooklyn Museum of Art, and you can see that that's the table. This person got invited to a cocktail party at their opening reception. That's cool. This is interesting because this is like an old flyer for, I would guess, her, I don't know, it was a showing in Cal Poly Pomona in 2003, so this is a different time. As this event was in 2002, this was in 2003, and then this other thing was in 2003. So, very cool. I'm going to have to go through that later. But anyway, so this Judy Chicago book is a great book. It's in awesome shape. Like, can't complain. I'm surprised it's deemed just good quality. I mean, it's in mint condition. It doesn't even look like someone's ever taken... I just looked inside, and not that it's like a huge deal or anything, but this apparently was Vicky's book, and Miss Judy Chicago signed it. So I have a signed copy of Judy Chicago's book, which is kind of cool. Didn't know that. I don't think when Thriftbooks sold that to me, they did. That's an amazing find. And that book was $4.59. This is originally a $30 book that I got for $5. So, a signed $30 book. Lee Krasner, another female artist that I'm excited to have in my collection. Here's a picture of the fabulous lady on the back. Ooh, and a cute portrait in the front of her, too. It seems like a really awesome book. It's nice and big, which I can appreciate. It has a lot of her early work, older stuff, all through her life. I'm not a huge abstract expressionist, but I love Lee Krasner, her work, and the way that she speaks about work is uncompared. She's a fierce female artist that I can't say enough about. So, very excited to have this. No MSRP anywhere. This was published in 99, so it's an older book, but it's in really great shape. I would assume this was probably a $35 to $50 book. $8.19. This book was worth $8 to me. It's big, it's full color, and it's in good shape. Marcel Duchamp, one of my favorite sculpture artists for his middle finger to the world. This one is The World of Marcel Duchamp. This was part of an anthology series, I believe, and that's why this has like a different little outer casing. Each book would come with one of these. Marcel Duchamp doesn't have a ton of books written or that are specifically all his work, but this one is, and there's some great imagery in here. It's in mixed color and black and white, but this is an older book. Like I said, it was part of an anthology, like sort of encyclopedia-esque set of books, and oh yeah, that would explain why. This was published and produced in 66, so this is a really old book. This is from 1966. It's in great shape. This one was $4.96, worth every penny. Next is another suggested book from Thriftbooks. I know nothing about this artist. It is a female artist, Sally Gall, however you say her last name. It's a lot of soft 90s black and white photography. But there's kind of a romanticism about it all because of it, and there's some figure, I don't know, it's really, it's pretty, don't get me wrong. And I think I got this for really inexpensive. But it was worth the money I spent for it. And like I said, it's adding another female artist that I didn't necessarily know about and would like to learn more about. This one was $4.69. Don't know if it was necessarily worth the price, but I'm excited to explore. So I'd rather have that than one that I'm disappointed by, you know? It's originally a $35 book on Ronnie Jacques' photographs of famous people and celebrities. Some really iconic stuff. Really interesting portraits of women and the look of it all. A lot of this stuff is like editorial stuff. But yeah, this was originally a $35 book. And I got it for $4. Great price for what it is. It's an awesome shape. He worked with like people like Richard Avedon. Excited. Last single book by an artist, Louis Stepner, who I had never heard of before until I had seen his work in, I believe, the San Francisco MoMA. They had a collection of his photographs in the back, and they were actually some from this series of Penn Station. I had his name saved in my phone, which I do when I go to museums, and not a lot of times stuff comes from that, but sometimes it does, like this book. It's a massive book, as you can tell, and it was originally... This was originally a $50 book. That's in great shape. He doesn't have a ton of books of his work, but there's really awesome full-page photographs, some double-page spread stuff, like this. Just, his stuff is very captivating. He captured a lot of the subway culture, the train culture. Oh, this is a recently published book. Oh, this book's in bad shape for how old it is. This is only from 2015, and it's pretty beat up. But that's just the outer jacket. The inside jackets and the inside pages are in really great shape. So, like I said, I've been looking for a book from him for a reasonable price for a long time. And I believe I got this one on Amazon, and I don't have that list right now. But I'll post it, how much I paid for it. I think it was like $15. I try not to spend more than $20 on books. On to artists that I bought multiple books for. We'll start with Mr. Cornell. Joseph Cornell is one of my favorite artists of his time. His sculptures there's these like little boxes. They're like little windows into a different world or a different collage inside of a little box. There's not a ton of books about his work or for his work. This one specifically is in mostly black and white, but it's an older book to my knowledge. There are some great color photographs as well. This is copyright of 1980, so that's why there's not a ton of color photographs in here. This was originally only $13.50. This one was $4.19. Next is Utopia Parkway, the life and work of Joseph Cornell. So this has imagery that goes along with text, and it is a bio. I don't know much about it. It was originally $16, and this one was $5.49, so it was a little more expensive. But it's a more contemporary book. It's in good shape, and I'm excited to get into it because I don't know much about Cornell himself, so I'm intrigued to do so. Published in 1997. It's a thick boy, too. Last from Joseph Cornell, which this one was kind of like my biggest disappointment in the stack so far, besides maybe the Cindy Sherman and Ai Weiwei. This one it's partly my fault in the sense I didn't look super deep into it, but this is a children's book, which is fine. The cover kind of made it look like it could go either way, so I wasn't sure. But I couldn't find too much about the book itself either, which probably should have told me that it was a children's book. But there's actually really great imagery in this one. The pictures are really big, and the works that are showcased are really good. This was originally probably a pretty expensive book because children's art books are pretty niche. It looks like it was published in like the early 2000s, would be my guess from the graphic design style. This one was, again, $4. Not too bad. And if I don't end up going to it to look at the pictures, which, that's half the reason that I have the books anyway, I'll give it to my godson. we have Senor David Hockney, who I love a lot. His work is great. It is very, to me, unique of even artists of his time, which was the 60s, because he was doing a lot of figure and not a ton of, I feel like, in my opinion, there wasn't a ton of that happening in the 60s. It has great color photographs in here, surprisingly. I was expecting it to all be black and white, but there's some great color photos in here as well. It looks like it goes really in depth, and I was expecting to hate this book, but I actually really, really like it. Next is David Hockney. It's called My Early Years. I mean, it has a tape on the back. How can I not love? Originally published in 76. So this one specifically was published in 88. So it's a newer-ish book. About 50-50 black and white and color. It's kind of like the last one where it's kind of a mix because it's pre-90s. But a great one. Both of these David Hockney books hit it out of the park. This one was originally $25. It was $6. I think the last one was $5. I'm not sure which one. One was $5, one was $6. I would assume the bigger one was $6, but you never know with thrift books. Okay, final artist is Robert Mapplethorpe. One of my favorite photographers, and I have none of his books. And that's because they are very expensive. I don't know why they're so expensive. I guess because I would assume his estate has a really strong hold on his stuff. I'm not 100% sure. But it's really hard to get a hold of, and it's really expensive. I think maybe part of it, too, is that they haven't gotten into publication anytime recently. Although he did have a traveling collection for a little while. A few years ago, I went and saw it. And so usually they make a book around that, but who knows? It was originally $11, which already is crazy expensive, in my opinion, for something so small. Some Women. So it's a portraits of specifically women. $6.39. This little tiny book was still $6.39. I got giant art books for $5, and this one was more expensive. But like I said, his stuff is, for whatever reason, really hard to come by. There's some really good solos, that sort of thing. Some really good figure work, which it's always cool to see a queer man taking pictures of women because there's such a different take that is had. I'll save the best one for last. This one first was originally a library book. I'm not sure where. It was published in, I believe this was published in 88 from what I'm reading. It's kind of complicated to tell, but it has a great collection of works. Awesome, going through and through. Most of his work is black and white anyway, so but even though they're black and white, they're presented in color. Fab. There's some flower stuff, there's some figure stuff, there's some part of the black book in here. It's a good anthology, and I love this one. This beautiful book that I have had my eye on for so long. Robert Mapplethorpe, The Archive. This is a Getty publication. So I'm actually thinking that this might be the one from the exhibit that I was talking about, because part of that exhibit was at the Getty. This one was part of the Denver Public Library. I got it. It's actually not in very good shape. There's a tape over this edge because I think it was starting to split, which is unfortunate, but I think it has to do with the way this book was bound, which isn't my fave. Yeah, this is from 2016. So I think this was the most recent part of the publication for Mapplethorpe's collection and works. This one is in full color. I mean, there's everything in here. They even include some portraits of the artists by other artists, which I like to see as well, because it's interesting to see how people are portrayed by their colleagues. But this one was a more expensive one. I believe it was, I think I paid $20 for this one. It was, I think, $19.99. But this, I can tell you, is probably at least a $50 book. So, great deal nonetheless. All in all, I had about 3 that I didn't love. That Ai Weiwei, the Cindy Sherman, and and the children's book, because it's a children's book, obviously. So I spent like $130 on all these books, and they're gonna go in my awesome collection, and I'm excited to, now that I filmed this video, I can actually flip through everything and get a full experience for everything, and I'm gonna I can sit and look at these for days, for years, for hours. So I totally would repurchase basically everything in here, including those ones that I wasn't like super impressed by. Anyway, I hope you guys liked looking at these things with me, liked seeing what I'm adding to my collection. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.